Welcome back, and today we are going to be taking a look at the P-38L for the American tech tree, and it's the 4.7 variant. It is a P-38, so it does handle a little bit awkwardly, especially if you don't use keyboard inputs, but with the very fine adjustments. Keyboard inputs might not be the thing that you want, and you will see me struggle with the mouse aim on this thing because it's a very big detriment. The turn rate is pretty good, and together with the boosters on this thing, it does make it rather responsive at high speed, but again, the responsiveness is just not that useful when it comes to mouse aim. And you can see some of it right here, and I'm gonna start off with some of the worst aim that you have ever seen. We connect absolutely 0 shots and we put it into a vertical, and the P-51K is basically a P-51D30, so we do want to be somewhat careful. However, with teammates like that, who even needs enemies? They take each other out. That's of course completely planned, predicted, and of course meant to happen. Before we get started today, thank you to all my YouTube members as well as my Patreons and everyone looking to get this decal to put on their vehicle. You can do so with the discount code down below. You get a 3% off and a decal, and I get a small cut of it. Everybody wins. So we go ahead on with the Wyvern here. Not much to say. He gets set on fire. He's gonna put it out and then slam it to the ground regardless, because that's what War Thunder is about nowadays. Focke-Wulf 190 directly above us, and we are going to be put on the defensive quite badly here. Luckily, we do have the turn rate and we have the roll rate to kind of keep up with him. So in terms of the defensive position, I'm not exactly too fussed about it. So I cut my throttle, I try to slow down a little bit, and I will sacrifice a little bit of energy to get position. The thing is, if the Focke-Wulf plays this wrong, me getting position with the right amount of speed basically means that he is dead to right. He tries to go vertical, he turns into the opposite direction, and because we have some positioning, he instantly gets punished for it. And here we go back to the mouse aim, which is extremely unwieldy. Together with the snappiness of the 190, makes it rather annoying to actually get shots on this guy. Keep in mind, this is from before the Focke-Wulf 190A5 actually got its flight model changed. Nowadays it should be a bit easier to get shots on them, because they are nowhere near as maneuverable. But I do want to sell you the part where the responsiveness of getting the nose on target with this thing is absolutely dreadful. Luckily, because of the way that you fly this thing, it isn't that much of an issue most of the time. The issue is when enemies don't actually fall for your playstyle, because you have to play this thing in a very particular way, and you can tell that this is my preferred method. Use the air spawn, go a little bit sideways, make them climb up for you, and if they take the bait whatsoever, I mean, at this kind of speed, it doesn't matter how unresponsive your nose is. If your plane can't react at all, it's basically like shooting an AA emplacement. And I don't know how it is for you guys, but personally, hitting AA emplacements is pretty much my speciality. I'm pretty damn good at it. Now sure, if it's a moving AA unit, the one with wheels, God forbid, then I'm gonna struggle hitting it. Unless it's stationary again, but still just the fact that it can start moving at any time will make me miss every shot. Here comes an LA5, and we have quite a bit of energy over this guy, so we just go up over his nose. He doesn't have the energy to pull into that, and we just go vertical. This guy here breaks off and goes head on with a teammate, but it doesn't really matter. If this guy had stuck it to me, he would have stalled out below us, and it would have basically ended the exact same way. The only issue is that now it doesn't look anywhere near as flashy. And now it doesn't look like I did it by myself. Sure, he was damaged slightly by one of my teammates, but I hope it still portrays what this plane is like somewhat. The kill itself wasn't that spectacular, but I hope that it shows you how to engage in certain scenarios. And the issue is with this game that it's just super inconsistent. The things that I want to show you guys are not the things that I get to show you guys very often. And that's just because of certain scenarios just don't happen. Either because my team is too good, either because my enemies are too good, or at least too good to fall for the trap. And if you have a plane that's somewhat mediocre, and I'm not saying that this thing is, but if you have a plane that's somewhat mediocre, it's extremely hard to show you its strengths, even if it doesn't have any. Same with the BTD video. If everyone in the enemy team is actually somewhat competent and doesn't fly around like they just ran the 190 out of there with the left propeller, then you're not going to get many kills other than ground pounders, bombers, people not paying attention, and that's for the most part extremely boring gameplay unless you get like 8 in a match. But the gameplay of bad vehicles is extremely hard to showcase if your enemy is actually semi-competent. Because again, it doesn't matter what I do, if the enemy responds to it properly, then I do not get to showcase you anything. And here's the key 108. And the key 108 is a little bit in the same boat as the plane we just talked about. And if I play this wrong, I would have probably ended up in front of him. But because I didn't make a crucial mistake, I'm not saying I'm playing this perfectly, but I also don't have to. That's the nice thing here. If you have an enemy that isn't in a very good plane, in a plane that's pretty mediocre or bad even, I don't have to play it perfectly. When I'm fighting a vehicle that I know can basically not win if I make any crucial errors, I'm not looking to get perfect gameplay. I'm looking to get the kill the fastest way. Because the faster I kill him, the quicker I can go on to the next guy. We almost get a plane one shot by the friendly B-17. And I say almost one shot because this thing likes to just implode into flames if you get hit by a singular 50 cal. And now we are tangled up in a dogfight with a pure Muskie, which I pronounced wrong for the 20th time on this channel. We engage him, we have more energy and we have position, and we just crit his wingtip. And I know that the wingtip of the pure Muskie is pretty painful. And all I need to do now is make sure that I keep somewhat of a rolling motion or a low speed turn rate. Because he's losing more speed than us, and every time he needs to correct his wingtip, he's gonna lose even more and he's gonna lose some positioning. We get an energy advantage through this, we get directly on top of him, and at this point he is too slow and too responsive because of his wingtip damage to really do anything about us. Does this showcase that this plane is better than the pure Muskie? Definitely not. These two planes are basically the polar opposites. Pure Muskie, which is now the 23rd time I pronounced it wrong on the channel, is much more maneuverable at low speed and very much depends on the fight going prolonged. Whereas in this thing, you kind of want to finish the fight as quickly as possible, or at least get a position strong enough as early on as possible so that the enemy cannot counter it. We dive in here and you can tell that I switched on over to the A7M1. Why is that? Because an A7M1 is a plane that basically counters this thing's playstyle. Sure, it won't catch me. Sure, it will probably never outclimb me if I play it right. The thing is, an A7M1 that pays attention to me is almost impossible to hit. And if it does make me overshoot, or if it does get like in a 2v1 and that plane can basically always nose up to go head on with us, I am always at a disadvantage. My damage model is not particularly strong. My guns are not very easy to aim at medium to high or even very low speed. There are some very particular speed windows, but in general, you've seen it throughout the video, and yes, you can chalk it up to me having bad aim, but this thing is extremely unwieldy, and if you are very much used to it, sure, you can make it work, but for someone that doesn't fly this thing all too often, it's not exactly very easy. And if you're not used to it, I want you to be careful about trying to go for the balls in, all in snapshot that you might hit in many planes, because in this thing you might just miss it. And if you miss in this thing, if you miss certain angles, you're probably looking at a big fat L. And I'll show you one of those later on in the video. Right now I'm just flying over the enemy and I'm looking at who I can engage. I don't want to waste too much energy. I just want to make sure that if I go in, I actually get a kill out of it. I then notice that the A7M is basically not reacting, so I'm just going to ignore the J21. Why? Because the J21 is not really gonna do anything to us. A7M is, as predicted, AFK, or not really AFK, but he's not looking behind him. He's looking at my teammate that's being shot at by two other guys already, and he gets taken down relatively quickly. We then leave the furball, we put all our speed back into altitude, and we simply loop back over. And the thing that we see in front of us right now is actually the thing that you don't want to see in this plane, unless of course they're all going very, very slow. Right now the J21 here is trying to push ahead on, so I'm gonna try to get a little bit closer. I shoot some rounds and I just break off. I do not get any hits in. That's not unresponsiveness, that's just me missing my shots. And then I notice the Key 84 below us trying to pitch up for us, and I can go for the J21 right now, but I'm not too interested in him. Then I noticed the G55 going for a stalled out Key 84, so I switched targets to at least get something out of it, expecting the Key 84 to die. I normally don't really trust my teammates, but a G55 against the stalled out Key 84, Yeah, he missed it. Very much unlucky, but I still have the energy here to still go up, because the Ki-84 is forced to attack the people that are directly below him. So we dive on him, we're going pretty decently fast, but I'm just not able to get good shots in. I do get a crit, and now all I want to do is make sure I keep my energy, and just make sure that I kind of try to stay behind him, and try to stay out of his nose. I'm not trying to dogfight this guy. Well, I kind of am, but I'm trying to make sure that I keep my position, so I am going to use my flaps a little bit. The flaps on this plane are absolutely insane, and I don't want this to go too prolonged, and that's why I'm putting some of my turn rate into the flaps. Now I have a little bit of an energy advantage. He's about to stall out, so I'm going to go vertical, actually use my flaps. That's not a way you should be using them, but I'm also trying to just stay very close to him so that this G55 can come in and interrupt it. Because he had to dodge the G55, he flies directly into my guns. Would I have flown that differently if there wasn't a teammate around? Definitely yes. I do not want to go that all in. I would have used my flaps a little bit less, but I was just trying to get the Ki-84 as close to me as possible. Try to keep him in the fight for as long as possible. And then if a teammate comes in, he basically kills himself by either going for the teammate and trying to dodge his shots, or trying to go for me and dying to my teammate. Either way, we are on top. And that's the nice thing about having a numerical advantage. So we go in, 109 G6, we get a hit in, D9 on our left as well. I noticed the G6 diving out, the A7M trades in head-on with a Yak 3, which is kind of okay because the G6 dove away. The 190 doesn't have the energy right now to really do much to us. But I do want to tighten the loop a little bit, so I'm gonna actually pull into him. He's going very slow, he doesn't have the nose authority to pull those shots off at low speed. And we just turn around. I do want to keep my eye on that 109, as I don't want to start fighting the Dora and then deal with the G6 or the other way around. So I do need to be somewhat careful here, but the G6 takes priority because he's getting somewhat closer. And he goes underneath us and we are forced to extend. I cannot turn for him right now. If I start turning with a G6, I basically give my 6 directly to the 190D. I don't want that to happen, so I put it into a little bit of a climb. I'm going to be out climbing the G6 very substantially, and I want him to get bored, and that's exactly what happens. I waited for a little bit longer to make sure that he doesn't just pitch back up and start catching us. And now I go defensive against the Dora again. We are in a pretty decent position right now to fight this guy. I know I can win a dogfight. So I just want to make sure that this guy is trying to stick on us. So I'm going to give him the position early on. I'm going to basically turn in front of him. But because this thing is a lot more maneuverable and all I need to do is basically stay out of his guns. Got my throttle a little bit. And within a singular turn, I'm on this guy's 6. We pull back in. He pulls very predictably straight in front of us. And if I don't have to react to your movement, I can even line this plane up. So we set him on fire. Shoot a few more rounds. And down he goes. And here is where the real pain starts. An A6 M5. Now the plane in itself isn't that much of an issue and I can run trains on this guy all day long. And the issue is actually trying to hit him. And yes, my aim is going to be terrible. But it's also, at least to a certain degree, the plane's fault. Yes, I'm misplaying this. Yes, I'm making mistakes. But I also want to show you if your aim is good enough for this plane, what you can do. And also how painful it is if your aim isn't good with this thing. He's going extremely slow. We have a lot of altitude here. So I'm gonna pull up over his nose. He's not pitching up for us instantly. But right now he doesn't have the energy to pull for us. But he's still going to be maneuverable enough basically to kind of roll around. I pull into the shot here. I lead the shot. He turns down. And this is just 50-50, me bad aim and the plane not reacting. I should have broken off earlier. Now I am on the defensive. And yes, I can get away from this guy. But this kind of reset is the stuff that will cost you the game. Because it takes you so long to set up for an A6M5, an A7M or all those planes that take forever to stall. And you put yourself in a very bad position if you try to stall them out. Because you are going very slow. And just like with the stationary AA, if you're going very, very slow, even bad players will be able to hit you at like 1 kilometer. You don't want that to happen. Right now we are kind of in the same spot as before. And now we have also a 109 next to us. So we are kind of shitting the bed in a way. I'm not really panicking, but I just want to kill one of these because the 109 will eventually actually catch us in the climb. And the A6M will be absolutely dreadful to deal with in a 2v1, so I should actually focus on the A6M right now. That's what I should be doing. Right now I set up the exact same way as I did with the first engagement. Well, I'm pulling him up. He's shooting from pretty far away. Shows me his inexperience. He's not going very quick. And again, he is not going to have the energy to pitch up for us. So we are using our high speed retention as well as our climb rate. And I'm just trying to hover above him. But I don't have the position here to catch him off guard. I can pull for him, but I'm going to die to the 109 because he pitched up for us. I have to disengage. A6M, basically the window is gone. So instead of going for the A6M, I went for the G6. I shouldn't have done that. I should have broken off, got my altitude back, because now the A6M is actually directly on top of us and he's going to be chasing us for the rest of time. He is above us and he is sure a bit slower, but I am not going to be able to finish up this game because of this. He's going to take me too much time to deal with. I'm going to be running around for quite a while here trying to get altitude. And then once I finally get to that point, an N1K and a Key 84 show up and I get triple teamed. I just die. I trade in a head on. But I never die, so I'm going to show you me running away. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you in the next one.